Well, Sean, great to have an opportunity to have a sit down and talk about the career that's been one McCaffery, and I suppose the reason I'm here is the form that your stable's been in has been as good as ever.
Yeah, you sort of opened that like an obituary there, Gregory. No, we are having a good run. You get runs and, you know, we're holding the form pretty good. We've got a nice bunch of horses.
Let's start out where it began for you, and your original apprenticeship, if you like, was under a man whose name is synonymous with the harness racing fraternity, certainly here in the Cambridge region.
Yeah, I was neighbours with John Butcher, and I used to take a great interest in what he was doing, and he let me come down and do a bit of helping out and one thing and another, and I'd go to the races with him and have a good time. He had some good horses. Josias was a very good horse when I was a kid, and Colin and John were very good to me. Like we lived down the road, and they were very good to me when I was a young fella.
What was it like learning under a master of his trade like John Butcher?
Oh well, he's a hard man, John, but he's good because he's a hard man, and he's a terrific family. That, you know, the whole lot of them are good people, and you know, he's very fair, and if he told you to do something, you did it the right way, otherwise you didn't do it at all, sort of thing. So you knew right from wrong right from day one, you know, so you couldn't ask for a better fella to teach you what's going on in the world.
Speaking of the world, you certainly got out and saw a bit of it.
Yes, we got out...
Macau?
Yeah, I went to Macau in 1980 or 81 when it was kicking off, and I was there for a few years. And
what happened there, Sean? What unfolded?
It was a very, very good concept, but it was badly run. Like, the racing was good. It's just that there was 200 of us working horses, sort of thing, with all the marfoos and the trainers and everything, but there was 400 people in the grandstand looking after us. Of course, everything was top heavy, and it was run by a private family, and they're all getting what they could for themselves and cutting the cake their way. So eventually it sort of tapered off, but it was a fantastic experience. Like, you know, you got over there and there was horses to work, and you raced every week and 3 times a week some of the time, and then the owners would take you to Hong Kong, and like a young fella getting out of the country to go to Hong Kong and cut loose, you know, the owners would take you over and put you in the Peninsula Hotel for the weekend and pay for everything. #1 hotel in the world. Yeah. Everyone's walking around in beautiful suits and everything, and
McCaffery's
us ruffians from New Zealand wandering around with a bag with the football socks hanging out the bottom as you trail through the foyer, you know. Yeah. It was fantastic, and I met a lot of good people over there that I still have great relationships today. You know, they're all over the world. There's Americans I work with, there's Australians, great guys.
Oman, the US, you mentioned that. You've been there and applied your trade?
Yeah, I've done a wee bit in the States with one of the guys that went back from Macau. I was with him for a while over there, and then I was back here, and a bit of a quirky situation come with a Sultan Qaboos bin Said.
You look a little bit like a sultan,
yeah,
just quietly.
I actually fit right in there, yeah. And he wanted some paces and trotters sort of thing, some harness racing horses for a horse show. And it was tied in with Paul Clarkin, who was an ace polo player that was over there. And he teed it up, and we took the horses over there, and it was sort of a display thing, but then we raced them a bit, and they actually clicked that these things are quite competitive. It's quite exciting. So we put on a few races, and it went over very good. You know, they've had the odd ones since then, but it was a little bit different. You know, you had to watch what was going on. We were just across the water from Iran, and things weren't going too good over there at the time, so...
kept you on your toes?
Yeah, well, you just watch where you went and what you did, but it was very good, very good.
Driven a winner in Ireland?
Yeah, I was over in Ireland there for a while, and there was a track at Portmarnock, and it was sort of run under the influence of the local bookies and the tinkers. The gypsies used to turn up with horses too, and all hell would break loose, but you did as you were told when you were told, and your sort of life expectancy would be a bit longer.
Let's talk about more recent times and the way things have rolled for you, because the last 3 seasons, 22, 24, up to 25 wins this season, things are going pretty well.
Yeah, well, it's all about the horses you've got, and you know, you get into some better bred horses, and you know, I've got some good people that have been with me for a long time, like the Armstrongs the Brian Candys and Charlie Hunter and people that have, the Hopkins, I've had horses for them for a long, long time. And, the Armstrong boys, they started with their own breed and have sort of branched out and bought some nice mares, and they're getting the benefit of that now. And it really gives me a thrill to race horses for them, because we've been through the lean times and now they're getting a bit back, But it's all about the horses you've got. You can talk them up and down as much as you like, but the horses got to do the work. We're just sitting behind them.
Are you a goals man?
No. The goal could be racing next week and he gets a cold and you're not there. So there's no much point putting any goals after whenever. It's whatever you got to do at the time is what matters. And the future's, you can look where you want to be, but it doesn't mean to say you're going to get there.
Sean, you're not afraid to have a drive yourself, have a steer yourself, and to be fair, your last few seasons, again, have been pretty successful.
Well, it's just sort of...
Is it to get a feel of them more yourself?
I'm not that fussed about driving, to tell the truth. It doesn't worry me one way or another, but some of them I'd rather put someone else on, and some of them you sort of got to drive yourself to get them straightened out a bit, or just feel how they're going. Or
is that more the Trotters?
Yeah, probably the Trotters more than any, because they can be a bit quirky at the start and one thing and another. And when you know them, sort of you know how they breathe, let alone how they trot. So just to get them away and get them settled in races and get them on the journey of where they're going to go, it probably pays for the trainer to drive them sometimes.
Talking about Trotters, has it been by design or just by the way things have rolled for you that the number of your very best horses, we talk about Sovereignty, Tomba, Zeranovsky, they've all been the Square Gators?
Yeah, I think it's just a bit of a quirk, really. The best,
Chiola's Lass?
The first good horse I had was Chiola's Lass, and it was a very good horse. It wasn't very big, but its heart was monstrous, and she was just a sharp trotter, and she sort of was the best 2-year-old, and then she was the best 3-year-old, and we took it Aussie, and she was the best 3-year-old over there. Well, I don't know whether the flow went from there, but it's just, a nice trotter turns up, and nobody in this game can get it right all the time. You've just got to be right more times than you're wrong to be successful, and if you've had a few trotters, you can sort of shortcut things a bit to get to where you're going, I think. But it doesn't mean to say you're always going to be right. It's just, if you've had a few trotters, you know a good one from a bad one, probably, that's all.
Sovereignty's been a challenge. He's also been a great horse.
Well, it's sort of a full circle, really. When we had him as a 2-year-old, I thought he was a good horse then. We didn't race him until he was 3, but, as 3, he was nearly unbeatable. He was that good a horse, and you could do anything with him in a race. I don't think it mattered how you trained him, he was still going to be a very good horse. And, afterwards we've had a bit of wear and tear and battles with him, but I think he's as good today as he can be, and he, I think he's won probably 100,000 average every season he's been round. So he's won 800 or something if you include the Aussie money, so he's a very, very good horse in anyone's country. But he's a real, I don't know whether you call him a gladiator or what, but he just gives you whatever he has got. It mightn't be his best that day, but he will give it to you, whatever is there,
You've had some big thrills down at the Cup meeting at Addington. I remember one time you've rocked up there with a horse called Puk Puk Power. He paid a terrific price on a massive day for Cambridge that day, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Justin Hughes had won the Cup the race before, and I had him down, we'd sort of set him to race. He hadn't raced for a while, and Tony Armstrong wanted to go to Cup Day, so he was actually working overseas at the time. And we lined it up, and all the stars aligned, and there was a bit of money on the tote. He paid good money, and he won very well, and everybody was more than happy.
Super Strike, another very good pacer.
Yeah, he was a good horse, Brian Candys. We bought him relatively cheap, and he won through the Cup class, and he won on an Inter-Dominion day down there when Wolfie's
95, I think it was. Yeah,
when Wolfie's mare
Golden
got
Rain.
relegated.
Yep, that's right. Yep.
And he won very good that day and paid well, and everybody was happy.
Are you a punter? Do you is it your own horses that you have the odd investment on?
No,
because you don't come
really.
across as a guy who's.
No, everybody, it seems when you're a young fella, you sort of like having a bet,
Bulletproof.
having a swish, and
Yep.
You'll probably put the month's wages on a horse because you think it's the goods, but you find out it not always is. And as you get older, you get a bit immune to that, and you get a bit picky and choosy. I don't mind having a bet on a Saturday afternoon, sort of thing. You're watching the gallops and that, but when you're at the races and you're busy, it's the last thing on your mind, really. But people will quote you odds and things, and you'll see what a horse is paying. You think, well, that's not right. He's either better than that or worse than that, We're not down to the exactness of Mr. Gurin, where he can tell me whether this horse should be $1.25, not $1.15. I can't really see that margin in it, Michael, but you know, you can see when a horse is loose in the money, and there's a couple of times where, you know, the owner's interested in having a bet, so you'll wait and you'll line it up, and you know, you'll wait till he's dead set ready, and if the guy wants to have a bet, that's his business. Like, the owner's the boss, sort of thing. He pays the money, and if he wants to have a bet, well, we'll do our best to give him his best shot.
Sean, you've got a couple of nice paces at the moment. Norfolk Night done a very good job for you, as has Racer in an early stage of his career.
Yes, Norfolk Night he's a wee bit of a trick, because he was a bit of a wild little horse to start with, but he's just, I think it's a trait of the bettor's delight. When you put it to him, he can just turn up with the goods. And the harder they race, the better he likes it.
He's knocking on the Jules door.
Yeah, and he wouldn't be out of place sort of running near them either. He ran 6th in the Derby at Auckland, and he went a super race, but you know, he's just one of those horses that's getting better as we go, and I think as a 4-year-old he could be a real good horse.
And Racer, he's by Mark III, and Tony Parker's had a reasonable strike rate with those.
Yes, he hasn't done too bad out of a couple of them. As been documented, he's out of a family that's left some very good Mac 3s out of it, and I think, you know, going on what he's shown so far, he could be right up the top. He's just a perfect horse. If you said go to the sales and buy a horse that's out of a good family, buy a very good stallion, stands well, walks well, and then you get him home and he paces well, he's got a fantastic attitude.
That's him.
He ticks all the boxes. So we're still trying to find a hole in him, because he just does whatever you want.
His performance here at Cambridge when he led and went, what did he go, 55.5, somewhere around there, that was the real Racer, wasn't it?
Oh, it was. He'd been a bit unlucky and victim of circumstances a couple of times. It wasn't his fault. The start before, we thought he was unlucky not to win the big race at Auckland, and Ricky May said that when he got off. He said, I think he should have won. So I'd sort of said to James, well, we better just get going tonight. He's got first time he's got a draw he could use. So I said, you press forward, and I said, I don't think he'll get tired. He's just too good for that.
Exciting times.
Well, it is. You know, there's no good living on past glories. We've got to sort of work towards the next one. So.
What does the future hold for Sean McCaffery?
I don't know.
What do you think you'll be doing inside the next decade? Or what would you like to be doing?
You sort of, some mornings you get up, it's wet and cold and windy and all the rest of it, and you think, well, I can't be doing this forever. But, you know, you bounce off a horse at the races one night like Racer, and you think, well, there's a bit more in store here. Like I've said a while ago, I'm not going to be doing this when I'm 50. I'm not going to be doing this when I'm 60, but I still seem to be chasing them around, you know. So while there's a living in it, and you sort of can be your own boss and make your own decisions and things like that, it's a pretty good life when you can get up and do what we do. There's a lot of people that work in other businesses and things, and they make a lot more money than us, but they wish they could do what we do. So you've got to be grateful for that in life, that, you know, you get to do something you love doing, and you get enough to get by on anyway. We're not driving the flashiest car in the street, and we live in a reasonable house, and the kids are all well fed, so you can't ask too much more than that.
What about the family? What's their involvement, if any?
Long
term? Not
much, really. We had twin girls first up, and they both went to university and got a degree, and one's in Melbourne.
Through to mum, eh?
Well, I don't know. A good mare, anyway. Pretty good stallion, but a good mare. And the young fella, Finbar, he's working as a builder, so, you know, at least they get out of bed and do a bit of work in the morning. That's a good job.
And the most important question to complete what's been a great wee yarn, winning Mo of the Year nationally. I notice it hasn't come off, so it's here to stay. And it's been here a while.
It started a long time ago in Macau, actually, and I don't know why it's never really come off. Someone said to me if I didn't have it, it wouldn't be me, so I don't know how long it'll last. I don't know. Probably when someone sneaks up and cuts it off.